Are we now finally seeing it happen before our eyes? This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. We got so many things as usual to get into in this video. We have, of course, Sean Penn being interviewed by Bill Maher. We got Katherine Heigl and something she did. We got Kanye saying what's really going on around us. This is kind of bizarre, and it has to do with our president. It has to do with this guy named Jared. We're talking Kushner, that is near to our president, son-in-law. Some very bizarre things are now being posted online. We have another thing going viral right now as well. It has to do with the prime minister and something he said, which is making people think and connect the dots about all of this. We're going to get into all that and much more. Let's just get going here. Let's start with Sean Penn. Bill Maher calls out woke actor Sean Penn. You'll meet with anybody, Castro, Hugo Chavez, but not the president of the United States.
Not been invited. The only reason I would not accept an invitation is because I see no, it's a long flight. And I see no,
really? You'll meet with fucking
I don't think
Castro and Hugo Chavez, but not the president of the United States?
Yeah, I saw good results come out of some of those things in terms of agendas that I had. I don't think that there's anything that I would, I just personally wouldn't trust anything that was said in the room, including the personality.
It's not a matter of trusting it. It's a matter of seeing it, matter of experiencing, matter of knowing it.
Yeah, it's
more knowledge. It's like saying, I don't want this.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously, with regards to Sean Penn, he's on the left. So we've seen this more and more over the years. They just seem to be more and more not wanting to meet with anybody on the other side of the aisle. But on top of this, it got even worse. Now we're seeing the right starting to separate, fight, and some of them hate our president on the right now. So it's like a lot of people are starting to really hate our president. And of course, maybe some of it is justified, but I think some of it is not justified. I think there's a lot of people online just making and stirring the pot, making it worse than it sounds. And also you have on this story as well, Katherine Heigl fires back at fans outraged over her attendance at Mar-a-Lago dog rescue event. So you can't even do charity work with our president or even at a facility that he owns without getting backlash if you're someone famous. So it's really kind of a bizarre thing because you have, I think, a different element with our president compared to other presidents. Like, you know, with Biden, it's obvious that the guy was not all there. Someone was calling the shots while he was in there, and it wasn't him, right? But with our president, it seems like he rubs a lot of these people at the top the wrong way. Sometimes he's agreeing with them, sometimes he's not. But it seems like the media's had it sort of like had it out for him the entire time, right? And so what I think is really going on here is our president is his own man. He's actually making his own decisions. He's actually trying to make it in the best interest of our country, although I think sometimes he's misguided about that. And what I think the misguiding comes from is his son-in-law and some of the other people that surround him. So I think a lot of it comes down to who he has around him. And we've talked about that before in the past. And this is really interesting what Kanye said. This is an old video, and apparently it's completely true what he was saying. So Kanye West about Jared Kushner called him our president's handler years ago, sitting with Jared, sitting with Josh, and finding out other pieces of information. I was like, wow, these guys might have really been holding Trump back, like being a, handler. When he made these peace treaties, I just think it was to make money, referring to Kushner. And actually, that's what we're now starting to learn, which I'm going to show you in a little bit. And we got this weird stuff about a Messiah. We got the prime minister of that particular country in the Middle East saying that the Messiah is coming. We had commanders in our own military saying that we're entering into Armageddon. Like, what's going on here? Let's just play this clip from Kanye first, though. Check this out.
Sitting with Jared and sitting with Josh and finding out other pieces of information, I was like, wow, these guys might have really been holding Trump back and being very much a handler right then. They love to just look at me or look at Trump like we're so crazy and that they're the businessmen. So when I think about all of these things that Jared, you know, somehow doesn't get enough credit for with his work, and what is it, his work in Israel or his work in Palestine? What is this? You know where he made these peace treaties? Where was that? Do you know the facts on this right here? So I'm like...
Well, I think that was between Israel and some of the Arab nations.
I just think it was to make money. I don't know. Is that too heavy-handed to put on this platform?
No, that's your opinion. We're not in the censorship business.
Okay, thank you. And a couple days later, I found out that Josh Kushner had 10% of Skims, which is a line that I had developed.
Kushner is an example of how...
That's interesting. So, of course, he's saying that they own a lot of things, and it's all about money. And it seems like that's what has come out regarding Jared Kushner, is it's all about money, linked to apparently some Israeli-American brothers who just were convicted. Their names are Tal and Elon. Last name Alexander. I think they were like real estate dudes. American brothers recently found guilty in a major case, talking traffic, of course, and they were also named in those files. Jeffrey and the Islands files. And of course, Cash redacted their names. So it's just really kind of crazy. We know also Jared's father was in prison for criminal activity. It's just like, okay, they're all swimming together, right? They're all doing this stuff together. And I feel like our president's been sort of dragged into this. And so what's really bizarre about it is our president is going to dedicate our country to God in May. I'll show you that in a little bit. But I'm saying that, look, you can't just dedicate our country to God without being honest and dealing with all this underbelly of evil that we're seeing around us that everyone knows about from these files. You can't just pretend it doesn't exist and dedicate our country to God. I can't speak for some reason. The point is that this is absolutely insane, right? So he worked with these two guys that just got convicted. His dad was in prison. His two business partners are in prison. Yet this guy somehow is getting by scot-free. Jared, some are saying he's the Antichrist. Now they're saying that. So in December 2020, the brothers attended Trump's White House Hanukkah celebration in a now deleted Instagram post. Spare your political views. The president just served us kosher food in his house and wished us a happy Hanukkah. Photos from the event show Tal and Oren posing inside the White House. There are links to Trump world extended beyond parties. Broker $24 million Indian Creek mansion purchased by Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump in 2021. You heard what Kanye was saying there. I've always been wondering if Ivanka and Jared were holding our president back. Are they also responsible or integral in some of these people being around him that are holding him back, that are giving him bad ideas? That's the question I'm wondering. And keeping our president, sort of locked up from doing what he really needs to be doing. As obviously in the beginning of his term, the second term, first 6 months were awesome, right? And then also beginning of this year, it was pretty cool, pretty awesome. And then all of a sudden it just went downhill again, right? It went downhill at the end of last year, went downhill the last month or so. But now our president's saying he's going to rededicate America to one nation under God. This is obviously an awesome thing. But like I said, you can't just ignore evil. You can't just sweep it under the carpet.
Support this exciting renewal this morning. I'm pleased to announce that on May 17th, 2026, that we're inviting Americans from all across the country to come together on our national mall to pray, to give thanks, and we are going to do something that everyone said, like, that's tough. We're going to rededicate America as one nation under God. A lot of people...
So what I think is going on here is it's almost like the angel and devil on Trump's shoulders, right? Angel and devil. And the devil's trying to get him to twist it the wrong direction. Obviously, the angel's trying to get him to go the right direction. And you can see Trump is trying to go the right direction, but is he going to get bad advice? That's the question. To rededicate our country to God, you need to do it the right way. These were the two guys that were convicted. And it just makes you wonder, because you have all these people that are in the files. It's, you know what, I'm starting to get this funny feeling that maybe Jared, maybe someone of his friends could be in these files, and they're telling Trump, hey, look, just, put this thing to the side. We can't deal with this. There's too many of our friends involved. See what I mean? This is what I'm talking about. So that's what I'm kind of wondering at this point. And you can see ever since Charlie Kirk died, the right has completely fallen apart. You have essentially two sides to this right at this point. It's no longer united. I think it's just kind of weird to think about. But perhaps Charlie Kirk was the one sort of keeping it together on the right.
Because you know you are part of something bigger than yourself. You know that you are part of the most exciting, diverse, powerful movement in the history of this country. And this movement
Now, of course, I don't know if there's going to be a copyright on that. Just playing that alone. So if you didn't see the clip, that's because it got a copyright, okay, because of that music, and it's super annoying. But at any rate, House divided against itself cannot stand. He talks about how we are in a diverse group here. It's not left or right. It's a movement for America, which I agree with. We have lost sight of that, have got over into drama, silly drama. That seems to be what's always going viral. X is like, as my researcher told me, he said someone who's an influencer said it, looking at Twitter is like looking at your toilet bowl. You just like floaties in it, right? Like that's what X is kind of like, right? You don't have really actually anything really profound usually seen over there. Usually just, some sort of a low level, sometimes profound once in a while. Usually just very low level surface stuff that's not even relevant. But you've seen how the right is completely divided and they've forgotten who they are. And this is what the devil wants. The house divided against itself cannot stand. If you have division on the side that's going the right direction, then you've already defeated them, right? And again, like Charlie was saying, it's not a left or right thing. We started seeing liberals coming in at first, right after his death. And then we have now a right that's completely divided. And a lot of it comes back to complaints about where our president's going, which some of it is definitely warranted. I agree that he's been taking things the wrong direction at times. But now the question is, what's going on spiritually here? Because I feel like there's two agendas right now. It's God's agenda and the devil's agenda. And the devil is going to try to mirror it in a weird fashion to where he puts the devil as God. Okay, and we have some weird stuff now coming out and going viral. One from the Prime Minister, of course, of Israel. There's talks of the third temple being built. We already know about the red heifer. According to their understanding of prophecy from their standpoint, we're talking about Bibi. They're looking for a finalization of the Middle East coming together in a way to where they don't have enemies around them. And they see this as a sort of a fulfillment. They look at Iran that way, actually. And so now you have Bibi coming out talking about the Messiah, and the way he said it is rather strange. Okay, let me show you this. This is kind of interesting. All right, let's play this.
Iran is no longer that big nation, that regional strong arm. We are working against Iran in many ways and in ways that would be revealed at a later stage, and I can say that Israel is much stronger, much greater than it has been in the past. We need to recognize this. And I believe we all recognize the fact that we will reach to the kingdom. We will make it to the return of the Messiah, but this will not happen next Thursday. The lives of...
So this is interesting. So it's kind of like a reversal of understanding. In Christianity, the Messiah returns when he says so, when he wants to, when you least expect it. The way they're looking at it is like they're bringing him to come to pass. It's like they're ordering the steps. Okay, this happened, that happened. Okay, he's going to return soon, but not yet. Kind of like a reversal. So they're the ones bringing him rather than he comes when he wants to, right? But also on top of that, notice he says return. Return, like he already came once. Well, I thought they didn't believe he ever came. So then you ask, well, who are they talking about when they say, well, who is he talking about when he says Messiah? If he says return when he never came, allegedly, according to their understanding. See what I'm getting at? Or is it just misspeak? Perhaps he knows or understands that Jesus is a Messiah. Perhaps, I don't know, he doesn't believe in it. From what I understand, he actually mocks the idea of Jesus coming back. I've heard that before. I don't know if it's true. I have seen some indication that might be the case. He's obviously not a Christian. He's a Jew. And so it's really weird. Why does he say return? Does he mean coming again? Now, my researcher wrote something down that was kind of interesting regarding this. And I'll show you that in a little bit. So now we have here, some are wondering if he's been replaced, if this is an AI video. Because he had some sort of glitch with his hands, where they were saying that he had 6 fingers, which is kind of weird. Right here, I think this is it, actually. Is this it? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me see if I can get it closer on the screen and show you guys. Now, they're saying that he has 6 fingers. One's bent over right here. That could just be... It is kind of weird looking, isn't it? That is kind of weird. They're trying to say he has 6 fingers there, right? Maybe it's AI, but actually they asked Grok and it said, no, it's actually not AI. So, you know, what's going on there, right? So what are they hiding from us? This is what this guy's saying here. The veil's been lifting and it's darker than you think. He drops a bombshell in the speech. We will make the return. We'll make it to the return of the Messiah. But hold up, this is not some feel-good prophecy. Dig deeper and you'll see. Mashiach, he is hyping is straight out of Revelation's playbook. He's saying that this guy's claiming it's the Antichrist, right? So it's interesting. So if you think about it, so the devil likes to twist things, right? And I think in the church you see this as well. This whole concept of how Jesus comes back, what time frame we're in, I believe that's actually an error in many people's minds in the church as well. But it is pretty obvious we are in the end, and it is very obvious that Jesus could come back at any moment, right? I agree with that. So perhaps what he's so what the devil's doing is he's trying to bring his Messiah while we're expecting the Messiah. See what I mean? So like you have a false Messiah and a true Messiah that could be coming, and could that be what's really going on here? Now, he said return, right? So my researcher wrote, we all know they aren't talking about Jesus. He must be talking about Azazel from the book of Enoch. This is at least what my researcher was postulating. People don't realize that he is also referenced in the book of Revelation because he was already here before they believe he will return. The beast which you saw once was, now is not, yet will come up out of the abyss and go to its destruction. The inhabitants of the earth, whose names are not written in the book of life from the creation of the world, will be astonished when they see the beast, because it once was, now is not, yet will come. So that is interesting, right? Could it be Gilgamesh, Nimrod? This is what Rob Skiba postulated. Could very well be the case. What was he? 2/3 God, 1/3 man? Was that what it was? 6.6%, right? Kind of interesting. So it's hard to know exactly what is meant by this, but it is interesting that our own commanders, apparently 30 of our own commanders in our own military, were telling their soldiers beneath them that we are going to be fighting for Armageddon, and we're actually in the end. Why would they be putting this out, right? Pete Hegseth apparently also kind of echoing this. Perhaps it was him putting this command down within the ranks. We had 115 complaints about this to the Freedom From Religious organization. I can't remember what they're called. I mean, 115 complaints. I think that's evidence that they did it. You know what I mean? So it makes you wonder what is really going on. And I actually think I know what it is. I think that the devil is still trying to obviously deceive us all. I think his time is up. I think Satan's little season is up, but he's hoping he can get another 500 years. And as I've already talked about before, I believe we've already entered into the White Dragon season or White Dragon age of 500 years. After 2024, the tail end of 2024, I believe we entered into it in 2025. You can see here the exact celestial season in 2024 and 480 BC. The real Esther story. They had a chapter from the book of Esther removed. That chapter talks about two dragons warring for power over the world. One being a red dragon, one being a white dragon, or at least that's how it was described by King Arthur, because he also had the same dream 1,000 years later in 500 AD, which was right before the Middle Ages. So every 500 years, this happens. And we have now entered into the White Dragon Age, which is the exact same thing that happened during the book of Esther. They went from a Red Dragon Age to a White Dragon Age. White Dragon referring to God. A lot of people never imagine God being a dragon, but it actually says it in Scripture if you look for it. In Psalms, it talks about him breathing fire out of his nostrils. God, I don't know how many other animals breathe fire out of their nostrils other than a dragon. So we see that in Psalms, God describing himself that way. Of course, everyone just assumes when it says he covers you with his wings that it must be a bird, but it could be a dragon. This is what people don't ever think about. We also have the serpent or dragon on a pole that Moses lifted up in the wilderness, which, again, is kind of interesting because Jesus referred to himself as being symbolically related to that serpent on a pole that healed people when they looked at it, that Moses held. Serpent is the word where we get dragon. Now, so God could represent himself as a bird, a dragon, a lion. It doesn't mean he's literally a dragon or literally a lion or literally a bird. Obviously, it's not the case. The devil also is represented as a dragon, a red dragon, as we see in Revelation. And the red dragon had a short season after the millennial kingdom. And I believe we've already been in the millennial kingdom. We don't know it because the devil doesn't want you to know it. The devil wants both the church and the world to be completely and utterly deceived so that no one knows where up and down is or left and right is.
And what we were taught to believe about the Bible and our past is beginning to unravel. The leaders and teachers we trusted to tell us the truth about where we came from and where we are going have led us astray. The pastors who were supposed to lead the flock to safety are turning out to be Judas, and they have sold us out for 30 pieces of silver. The evidence is mounting that Jesus kept his word and returned as promised and reigned for the 1,000-year period called the millennial reign. We are now living in the period few have ever heard of called Satan's short season, aka Satan's little season, or what I call the age of deception, because
the Red Dragon Age is what I call it. A 500-year, we're actually at the end of it. And what's interesting is we have lots of evidence of this, actually. I'm going to go and play this clip where he shows several miraculous things historically documented that happened around 66 to 70 AD. And there was recently a post on X where someone was talking about Jesus. Actually, it was kind of interesting because he's sort of in sort of the outside the normal sphere of church, talking about how Jesus fulfilled a number of things in 70 AD, which I believe is the same thing as the 66 AD. I'm not exactly sure what the year is. Some say it's 66, some say it's 68, some say it's 70 AD. Whatever, one of those in that range. Okay, I believe it's probably 66 AD. This is my theory, but let me just show you what this guy's saying here. But we had And actually, I retweeted it earlier. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Okay, I finally found it. It only took me like 10 minutes to find. According to 3 major historians, there were chariots of fires in the sky in 66 AD. Flavius Josephus, one that many pastors revere, details about the event. So here we got it. Historian Flavius Josephus. It's in basically your pastor's library. On the 21st day of the month of Artemis, a certain prodigious and incredible phenomenon appeared. I suppose the account of it would seem to be a fable, were it not related to by those who saw it, and were not the events that followed it of so considerable of nature as to deserve such signals. For before sun setting, chariots and troops of soldiers in armor were seen running about among the clouds and surrounding the cities. First century pagan historian Tacitus. In the sky appeared a vision of armies at conflict of glittering armor. Pseudo Hegesippus, a certain figure, appeared of tremendous size, which many saw, just as the books of the Jews have disclosed. And before the setting of the sun, they were suddenly seen in the clouds, chariots in the clouds, and armed in battle arrays, by which the cities of Judea and its territories were invaded. Jewish historian Sefer Eusebion. Moreover, in those days were seen chariots of fire and horsemen, a great force flying across the sky near the ground, coming against Jerusalem, in the land of Judea, and all the horses of fire and riders of fire. Scripture, Matthew 24:30. Then will appear a sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then all the peoples of earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with great power and glory. Revelation 22:12. And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me, and give everyone according to his work. Revelation 1:7. Look, he is coming in the clouds, and every eye will see him, even those that pierced him. It's kind of hard to see him if you're already dead. Those that pierced him would have only been alive for so many years after his crucifixion. So 30 years later is feasible. This is like 36 years later, 30 some years later. 33 years later, I think it would be. Actually, I think it is. So, okay, so if I understand correctly, and this is based on, and I haven't done enough research, but I've done some research, a decent amount. So Jesus was born in September, we're talking 11 and 3 BC. He was crucified allegedly in 33 AD on the 3rd, right? I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. I think it was it April 3rd, 33 AD? I can't remember, something like that. So that's 36 years. Now, a lot of people said he was crucified at 33 years old, so I'm not quite sure what to think about that. But then you have 33 years after the event, after 33 AD, you come to 66 AD, 33 years later, and you have this sight in the clouds of heaven. And those that pierced him would have seen him. 2 Thessalonians 1:7-8, and give relief to those who are troubled, and to us as well. This will happen when the Lord Jesus is revealed from heaven in blazing fire with his mighty angels. Blazing fire. Notice the word fire. He will punish those who do not know. See what I mean? It literally is the exact same as this historical documented event. Yet, for some reason, no one in the church knows about it. Jesus came back in 66 to 70 AD. Apparently, according to history books and according to what Jesus wrote, behold, I'm coming quickly. Those that pierce me will see it. I mean, I don't know how else to explain this. I mean, it seems pretty obvious. That probably is what happened. It seems very logical. It fits coherently. And that would mean that we lived past the millennial kingdom. The millennial kingdom would have been the Middle Ages. And now we're in Satan's little season, and it's coming to an end, which means the next event, according to Revelation, would be the Gog-Magog invasion, which is basically World War III. And then now our commanders are being told, or telling the soldiers, it's Armageddon. And you got the prime minister saying he's coming back soon. But he said return, and we don't know who he's referring to. Who's he referring to? Good question. And obviously, I've talked about this before. My theory is that Jesus already reigned 1,000 years in the Middle Ages. Pope Sixtus III, Pope 666 and another 6 ruled in 440 AD. That was around the time of the fall of the Roman Empire. The book First Adam and Eve says Jesus will be born at 5,500 AM. Second Adam and Eve book confirms this as well. Now, 5,500 AM is different than the current calendar you've been told. The current AM calendar is actually AM3. This is called the Hebrew calendar, which is incorrect. It tells you that, I mean, I can look it up real quick for you and show you. Year Hebrew calendar, 5786. This is incorrect. We're actually in about 7,530. That's how far off it is. It's off by almost 1,500 years. It's off by 1,500 years, literally. How do I know this? Well, all the historians wrote about what year they were in. St. Theophilus of Antioch said that he lived in the year, what did he say he lived in? I can't remember what it was. I don't have it in front of me. I've shown it like 100 times before, but basically if you add, so if you subtract 2,024 years from, let me do it. I can do it with a calculator. So we're in basically 5730. I'm sorry. We're in 7530. I'm dyslexic here. Minus 2024, you get 5,506. So basically Jesus was born at 5,506, which is exactly what it says. 5,500 AM. After 5.5 days, 1 day is 1,000 years. Other books confirm at year 6,000 AM, 470 AD, Jesus would return. Okay, that was at the fall of the Roman Empire. Today they hide the AM1 calendar. Wikipedia will not even tell you about it. The Encyclopedia Britannica will confirm it. St. Jerome attempted to change the calendar and set the incarnation 300 years prior. So basically, Jerome was in the year, he lived around 300 and something AD. And he knew that a lot of people were believing that Jesus was going to come back soon during almost the time right before the fall of the Roman Empire, right before the Middle Ages. So he tried to change the calendar. He tried to set back when Jesus was born 300 years earlier. He tried to manipulate the calendars. It says in Daniel that they will change the times and seasons. So you'll be confused. And if we're in Satan's little season, it says that he will go around to deceive all the nations, meaning everyone's deceived about history and everything. He attempted to do this because Christians knew the 1,000-year reign of Christ was coming. Because of this, St. Jerome and St. Augustine schemed to change the calendars to convince people this was not true. Pope Sixtus III, Pope Sixtus and another six was on. And this is what Revelation warns you against. The mark of the man, the number of the beast, Pope Sixtus III. He was actually born with the name Sixtus. He's one of the very few popes, about the only pope, actually born with the name that he was given as pope. The name Sixtus is the number 6 in Latin. So it says the mark is the mark of a man, a name. His literal name was Sixtus, and then he added 3 to it, 6, 6, and another 6. You see how that literally is telling you who he is? He was friends with St. Augustine. I've talked about Pope Sixtus before. The third, I've told you all the really nasty things he did. The very next pope after Sixtus was Pope Leo I, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, Leo, named after the Lion of the tribe of Judah. So Pope Leo I was right after Sixtus. Could Jesus be alluded to via this pope? See what I mean? There's a 1,000-year gap between Sixtus III and Sixtus IV. So right before the 1,000-year reign, Sixtus III. Right after the 1,000-year reign, or the Middle Ages, Pope Sixtus IV. Isn't that weird? 1,000 years in between. King Arthur had a dream that was interpreted by Merlin the magician, who was a Christian, which no one seems to know, and was defeated around the time of the fall of Rome. His dream was that the red dragon was defeated by the white dragon. The red dragon represented Wales, perhaps also the devil. The white dragon represented the Saxons. This set up the Middle Age kingdom for 1,000 years. There's a chapter in the book of Esther that was removed and put in the Apocrypha. This chapter is called Mordecai's Dream. In the dream, we see an evil dragon fighting a good dragon. And the good dragon won and ruled over the world. That was around 480 BC. Then here's how it is. So 1000 BC to 500 BC, red dragon age. 500 to 0 AD, white dragon age. Jesus was born during a white dragon age, 3 years before it ended, I think. 0 to 500 AD, red dragon age. That's why it says in the New Testament, the God of this world, or the God of this age, because the word world is age. The God of this age is the devil. It literally says it in Scripture, but it's been hidden because they say God of this world when it actually is referring to the word age. It says the God of this age is the devil. 500 to 1500 AD, 2 white dragon ages, millennial kingdom. 1500 AD to 24 AD, red dragon age. We just exited it. Now we're entering into the white dragon age. We've already been in it for over a year. But of course, just because you've entered into a white dragon age doesn't mean it's going to be all roses and perfect all of a sudden. Because after King Arthur, they entered a white dragon age, and there was literally a massive cataclysm. There was like a super volcano that went off. I don't know if it was a super volcano, but it was a massive one. And it darkened the sky for almost a year. And all the crops died. That was in a white dragon age. That was right after they switched over to a white dragon age. So maybe I I mean, obviously, just because you entered a white dragon age doesn't mean it's going to be all perfect right away. It takes a while to turn around. At any rate, so you get the idea. And so I'm going to get into more over my other channel. I guess we could go over this real quick. Joe Rogan, talking about Jesus, he used to mock Christianity. Now he actually goes to church.
The thing that Wes Huff told me was that the book of Isaiah that they found in the Dead Sea Scroll predates the oldest version of the book of Isaiah by more than 1,000 years.
Whoa.
When they found it, they found out that there was a book of Isaiah that is 1,000 years older than the one they thought was the oldest one, and it is verbatim. It's verbatim from the one that's 1,000 years later.
Right. So it is verbatim in the aspect. So like, okay, imagine this, like in English, like if I went back 200 years, they might spell, and actually they did. It's more than 200 years. If you go back to the 1500s, the word wife is spelled differently. It's W-Y-F-E. Now it's spelled W-I-F-E, right? So there's that aspect. So in reality, it is the exact same otherwise, but you get the idea. So at any rate, I'm going to get into more over my other channel. Kind of what some of you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.